Hello there, people of the internet. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's getting started early today. If you don't know who Kevin is, he's my peacock. I got 4 of them. So I've gotten a request to go ahead and explain what break-in times and break-in periods are for your firearms. And I figure, you know what, that's actually, a really good topic for a video, because that's something that not a lot of people think about whenever they go out and get themselves a brand spanking new handgun or rifle or shotgun or whatever it is that they're going to be using. All right, before we get started, I want to say thank you to the Patreons. Obviously, this stuff right here is not free, and it does cost money. If you want to help support the content that I make, then hey, go ahead and check out Patreon and Utreon, links in the description below. During the pandemic and during the riots and the burning of the cities and whatnot, and the defunding of the police and everything that has gone on, people have decided that they need to take their safety into their own hands. I mean, I'm not going to go into that topic right there, but a lot of new people bought a lot of new firearms, and most of these people, from what I've been able to gather, will buy like a firearm and then a box of 50 rounds of ammunition, and then they will decide that they are good to go. Or, very seldomly do I actually see this happen, but I have seen it happen a couple of times. They'll get 2 boxes of ammo, and they'll run 1 box of ammo for training, which is, phenomenal. I'm happy that they are at least getting that little bit of training in. But a lot of times whenever you buy a new firearm, there are break-in periods, meaning the firearm has to expunge a certain amount of rounds before, the tolerances start really wearing themselves in, and the firearm becomes more reliable than it otherwise would be new right out of the box. Many people don't know about this, so whenever they have themselves a brand new handgun and a box of 50 rounds, lo and behold, hey, guess what? Things are hitting the fan and you have to defend yourself now. Grab your handgun and your ammo. Hopefully you decided to load your magazine before somebody was kicking in your door. And you have to use that brand new handgun to defend your life. And lo and behold, because it has not gone through its break-in period, it is unreliable, and you get, 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds off, however many rounds it is that you get off. I don't know the story behind that particular hypothetical situation. But fire a couple of rounds and it jams, and your lack of firearm knowledge, you have no idea how to clear that jam, so the intruder takes your life. That's definitely not a particular situation that I would want to be in. So I try to tell everybody that gets themselves a new firearm who doesn't necessarily know a lot about firearms, there is a break-in period. If you read through the manual on most of your firearms, it's going to explain that there is a break-in period if the firearm is new. So the typical break-in period for most of your firearms, there are some exceptions out there depending on the tolerances and whatnot, they're gonna be about 200-ish rounds, whether or not it's a rifle or a pistol. Shotguns you can get away with less, but that's geometric shapes and that's a whole other topic, and I'm not gonna talk about the mechanics behind the firearms and what you can and can't get away with. But the general consensus, general rule, typically around 200 rounds of parts rubbing together and slide and bolt carrier groups and whatnot, moving back and forth inside the operating system. That's typically what you would want to do if you're going to be using whatever piece of equipment it is that you have for any particular use. And not a lot of people understand that. Like I said, people will go out, buy a gun, brand new, buy a box of 50, think they're good, get no training whatsoever, not even test to see the fundamental mechanics behind how well the firearm actually operates. This right here is a really good example of a handgun that I myself needed to put through a break-in period. This is a Taurus G2C. I bought this new like a while ago, and whenever I had gotten it and was first running it, I had several problems with this thing. Problems with, multiple different malfunctions. But as of now, I no longer have problems with this thing because I've got, 600, 700, 800 rounds through it. I'm not sure. I haven't really been keeping counting how many rounds I have through this Taurus, but I know that it's enough to get through the break-in period, and as a result, the handgun is much more reliable than it used to be. Now, the same premise can be said for not just handguns. I think I already pointed this out, but I'm going to go ahead and make it very clear. Every single firearm, if you buy it new, has some sort of break-in period. Now, if you get yourself an automatic firearm, a semi-automatic, some sort of self-loading firearm, then the break-in period is going to be substantially more than if you get yourself some sort of manually operated firearm. Manually operated firearms just tend to be more reliable in the sense that funk tolerances, dirt, debris, grease, oil, things that would normally jam up something that operates under its own pressures and springs and something that operates itself. A manually operated firearm tends to not have the weaknesses that an automatic one does. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much, buddy. Simply because, for the most part, us humans are able to exert far more force than, say, a spring system in some sort of recoil-operated automatic firearm would be. Like if you're operating a lever action, for example. You know, you can run that lever action if it gets dirt, you know, funk, debris, whatever it is that's in there. You can operate that essentially, unless you get something in the locking system, you can operate that essentially as hard as you need to go ahead and get that firearm working, versus a semi-automatic. You get funk in there and the spring just doesn't have the oomph to be able to operate the system like it normally would, at least not reliably. So that's talking about like dirt, debris, and funk in the system, but the tolerances in a brand new firearm that has not gone through the break-in period has the same general premise, because you have these brand new surfaces rubbing up against one another that are much tighter than they would normally be whenever you have proper wear on the firearm. And if you have a manually operated system, then you can just force your way through that operation. There's a reason why black powder firearms tend to be either single shot or some sort of manually operated firearm, because semi-automatics cannot fight through the crap and debris and buildup of black powder fouling that we just don't get with smokeless powder. You know, that's one of the reasons why semi-automatic, fully automatic, self-loading firearms were not really mainstream until after black powder was replaced by smokeless powder. The same general premise exists for the tolerances of your firearm. So you want to get through that break-in period in order to make your whatever it is that you're using more reliable. Now, this right here is not all that reliable. These handguns are known for being very inexpensive, especially the G2C model. This right here is a 12 round magazine, double stack, single feed. I do have a 13th round in the chamber because that's the amount of ammunition I had in the box. And I'm just gonna go ahead and launch a couple of rounds down range at my steel silhouette down there. This is older steel case ammunition, and I have had a couple of failure fires, but that's okay because this is a single action, double action handgun. And in the event that you do have a failure to fire, like I have on several occasions with this thing actually, you can go ahead and just pull the trigger again. And since it is a double action, it will actually recock itself and then fire again. I thought I heard a horn, but I guess it's just somebody out on the highway. Can you guys hear that on the camera there? So I'm not the best shot with handguns, but let's go ahead, send a couple of rounds downrange. I do like the trigger on these things. That is like the one thing I really like about the Taurus G2C. I like the Taurus G2C trigger, thank you Kevin, a lot more than the G3 series triggers. The G3 series just has like additional safeties and whatnot in the triggers, and they are a fundamentally better design on paper, but actually pulling the trigger on one of those is not the best. I actually got this G2C instead of a 3C or any of the 3 series, simply because I like the sights on these better, although the 3C does take Glock sights that I could swap out to whatever the hell I want. But I also really like the triggers on these. I can't tell where I'm hitting with this thing. I half recall this particular handgun hitting low. I'm just kind of aiming for the center of the steel with this thing. I'm gonna try aiming at the top of the steel. Maybe we'll get some clanks. Let's see what happens here. Oh, I heard a clank. All right, so this thing is shooting low. Yep, okay. Now that we have figured out the conundrum here, let's keep sending lead here. Yep, there we go. This is actually a pretty fun little handgun whenever it actually functions. I have a bunch of old steel case 9mm ammunition that I'm trying to run through. But now that I have, you know, several hundred rounds through this thing, the break-in period has definitely long since passed. And as a result, just all of the different surfaces that are going to be running in the mechanical fundamentals of this firearm, they have more free tolerances. The tolerances are not quite as taut as they would normally be whenever it fresh comes out of the factory. All the finishes and whatnot are starting to, you know, get worn, and all the metal bits that are rubbing against one another are starting to get worn. A lot of times, to help you get through the break-in period without a lot of malfunctions, I always recommend that people go ahead and oil whatever it is that they're using, and that is a really good way to increase the reliability when getting through the break-in period. But hey, yeah, all right, this thing does shoot quite low. I might have to do something with the sights there because I was aiming like at the top of the steel on that. That's just what you get with these budget handguns. They're not always zeroed exactly where it is that you're wanting them to be zeroed at, but you get what you pay for, and you can always play around with the sights, you know, get yourself a taller front sight, or do some filing, or do whatever it is that you have to do to get your zero in. Yeah, I got my zero in pretty good there. So I think I covered this topic pretty good. If you have anything to ask or anything to say about the break-in period of firearms, or anything that you want to just throw in, you know, toss your hat in the ring, and by that I mean comment down below and let us all know what you guys' thoughts are. That being said, hey folks, I am actually, it's raining right now, and I'm trying to take cover from the rain because I'm under this tree right here, and I don't want to go out there while it's raining. I don't think it'll last for very long, so I'm just kind of trying to bide my time under this tree. So I guess I'm just going to stand here for a couple of minutes, and I'll go ahead and do the outro here. Thanks for watching, folks. If you like the video, then hey, do me a solid and actually like the video. That definitely helps out with the algorithm. If you like the channel, do me a favor and subscribe. There's an ant on my camera. Where are you going? What are you doing? Do me a favor and subscribe if you actually like the channel. That definitely helps out a lot. Share the video if you feel like sharing the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out if you feel like it. I'm gonna get this ant off my camera. It is freaking going crazy, but it's one of those like big tree ants, and I don't really want to touch it, and I'm gonna blow it off, but I don't want to do that because it's on the microphone, and I don't want you guys to have really messed up ears. Up, it goes onto the lens there. Hold on. There we go. All right, it's gone now. All right, thanks for watching, folks. You guys go up, have a fantastic day. God, you gotta love Florida. Between the peacocks and the rain and the giant ants and the spiders and the people shooting in their backyard. That's Florida for you. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen.
Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.